Tracy with Don. We're walking through a park. We've had a lot of storms here. There's been a lot of tree damage. I'll show you some that we just crawled through to keep going on the path. There's definitely a lot more tree damage up north where I actually think that Ryan Y'all said a tornado did go through. So I just had a person reach out to me with a private message on Instagram who had bought meats and sweets and has been following us for a while and has been asking, you know, seeing my current posts going back to a vegan diet, concerns that people have or that she addressed are common, unfortunately. And so I thought I would, while we're walking, see if it would work to record a video while Don and I talk about what we were just talking about before I even put the camera on. So concerns include, you know, soy foods, are they good, are they bad? Is it only good if you're a menopause woman was the actual question. Is rice safe? What about wheat? Would white rice be better than brown rice? And you know, things that are, I think, a result of personally a lot of misinformation and propaganda that got spread intentionally, because in our day growing up, when the natural food movement was just blooming, you know, just spreading across our country, thanks really in part to the Pushis and the whole macrobiotic movement, soy was hailed as the golden boy, but it became too popular. The data supporting the health benefits of all the phytonutrients and isoflavones and what in soy became a threat to big animal business, and a massive smear campaign was lodged against the soy producers. Anyway, now the big concern is GMO, and you know, rightfully so. But if you research soy, like 7% of the total soy production is used for human consumption of human food. Edamame, you know, soybeans, soy milk. And though 7% used for human consumption, which is, I think, mostly grown in our country, the largest growers of soy is Brazil and the US, is non-GMO organic soy. And actually Eden Foods grows, I believe, all of their own soy beans here and produces the soy milk here in our country. So if you're concerned, then absolutely support a company like Eden Soy, and you'll pay a little more, but you'll get the best quality store-bought soy milk you could find. Yep. And anyway, these foods are highly nutritious, and there's been countless studies debunking all these fears around soy, and a lot of it is because people think soy is being estrogenic. It's going to give man boobs, but what's giving men the boobs are the dietary animal foods and fats, especially all that saturated fat
and dairy.
So the soy isn't the problem. It's a very highly bioavailable protein, and that's what scares the, you know, meat, egg, dairy businesses.
Yeah.
Because it's an absolute ideal substitution and, you know, for our human consumption. And in fact, what we were talking about before I turned the camera on is the fact that it occurs to me that it's because this demand for soy has so kind of dropped, and all these other non-dairy milks made from everything you can think of under the sun now, every other week, you know, are replacing. You got to make room for all the new products. Flax milk, hemp milk, cashew milk, oat milk of all kinds, you know, barista brand and vanilla flavored and blah, blah, blah. So the soy milk is getting no respect or love, and it's being relegated to the bottom shelf, and you really got to want it and look for it. And it's because the demand is so low that is actually contributing to the increased demand and production of GMO soy, which is, you know, over 90% of the soy is used in non-human forms, or at least indirectly. A good chunk is livestock, and a good chunk of that is actually poultry. The fact is that so many people are so afraid of soy, and it's a really highly nutritious legume, which actually has been found in many studies to help prevent prostate and breast cancer. It'll reduce symptoms of menopause, like hot sweats, hot flashes and night sweats. And women in Asia have been consuming, people all over Asia have been consuming soy products for centuries. And they don't have all these, man boobs and soy boy.
Exactly the opposite.
That is just nothing but propaganda to get people to continue. And even Arnold Schwarzenegger said in The Game Changers, that's just marketing to get people to believe that if you eat a plant-based diet, you're going to be weak and wimpy. Y'all remember Real Men Don't Eat Quiche, if you're old enough? It's just all marketing campaigns. And it's the same with wheat. Everyone is all freaked out about wheat. It's got gluten. So everyone's just now believing, that if they're on a plant-based diet, it's even more superior because they do all gluten-free and hashtag this and hashtag that. But in macrobiotics, we discuss how to eat orderly and why we choose the foods we eat. And I have a blog post about it, but basically you want to look at what is going to grow and be the most fruitful, produce the greatest yield, with the least taxation to the resources, the least amount of waste, resource used, that is actually going to grow in a climate where you live. And those are the grains, these native grains. Whole wheat is a native grain, and it's been around for a long time. And yes, all kinds of plant foods are hybridized, but it isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's humans, using ingenuity to create grain yields that are ever more productive and tasty.
So basically wheat has been in use in the Western world for several thousand years, maybe 10,000 years. And over that period of time, people have quote unquote hybridized it. They have artificially selected for the best production, the most hardiness, pest resistance, all of that. And also for qualities wanted in culinary applications, for making bread or pastries. There's different kinds of wheat for different applications, for durum for pasta, hard red winter or hard red spring for bread, soft white wheat for pastries. There are all these different types of wheats for different purposes, and they're all specifically bred for those purposes over the course.
They're bred for the right bread.
Literally thousands of years, people put lots of effort into this. And then now what's happening is that people are saying, oh, that was all wrong. They should have never used wheat at all because it's got gluten in it. And wheat is so terrible for you. It's ridiculous because at the very minimum, the civilization, Europe, India, and China have all
Egypt
have relied for a large part of their calories from wheat for literally thousands of years.
And even all through the Middle East.
And if wheat was this highly toxic food that people think it is, this would have never happened.
So basically we're disrespecting our own native grown crops, which hurts my heart and soul.
As well as all the efforts of our ancestors to cultivate these foods to make them optimal, not just nutritionally optimal, but also efficient for agricultural applications so that you can grow a large amount of food on a small amount of land.
Effectively and efficiently, yeah, so there's the least amount of waste and the most people fed.
Right, so
wheat is super nutritious.
Super nutritious.
One of the highest protein.
High in protein,
selenium.
Relatively good quality protein, especially combined with a legume. High in selenium, B vitamins.
Vitamin E.
Vitamin E.
Manganese?
So, yeah, and magnesium. People are constantly talking about, I gotta have a magnesium supplement.
But
This,
they
that.
won't eat foods
But
that
they
are
won't.
rich in magnesium.
But when you talk about grain, they want to eat white rice and white flour and all that. Well, that's why you don't have enough magnesium, because you're not eating the whole grain. The whole grain has the magnesium in it. So this magnesium deficiency thing is caused by, it's a side effect of this idea that these foods need to be for either refined or avoided.
And this is further causing a couple other problems, and one being the more refined foods that you eat, the more of the grains you eat in the refined form, then you're not going to get the fiber. You're not going to be able to actually have the most important, the right microbes in your intestines that are part of your immune system that are going to help you digest these foods, because the healthy microbes that you want, the butyrates and everything, they thrive on the whole grain, not refined.
It's the bifidobacteria. Butyrate's the byproduct.
The byproduct, okay, right.
Fermentation.
See, he always has to correct me. My synapses don't connect as well as he does sometimes.
It's like bifidobacteria and so forth that are the...
It's part of building your immune
fermentative
system.
bacteria.
And your ability to digest these foods, if all you've eaten your whole life has been either originally in a standard American diet, you know, with animal foods, and then some amount of breads and baked goods, bagels, whatever it may be, tortillas that are largely with mostly refined flour products that have had enriched, you know, enrichment, so synthetic vitamins added back in, your body doesn't like register this like it does the whole food form. So it's creating a disaster where a lot of people now think they're wheat sensitive, gluten sensitive, or intolerant, when it's probably a whole actual gut microbiome mess that needs to be corrected, and it does take time.
If you're eating animal foods, high density animal foods, nobody wants, people just tend not to eat whole grains with that.
It's just too dense.
Because the whole grains are heavier.
And
they're already eating heavy animal foods, so they don't want that.
Yeah, if you say yin yang, it's like yang heavy diet, so you're going to look for a balance with more yin foods, which will be more of your fruits and vegetables, raw fruits especially,
or refined grains and sugar.
But
because you're getting a high animal protein, if you're eating animal foods, you're eating excess protein and fat, so then, but your body needs carbohydrates, so you have to fill it in with something that's high in carbohydrate but low in protein and fat. Well, that will be your refined carbohydrates and possibly fruits, but because they're the balance, the nutritional balance for the high protein, high fat intake. That's the yin and yang of it, the balancing of opposites.
Which we'll talk more about in another video when I kind of go more into macrobiotics, or you can read some of the literature we already have, including a free ebook available on my website, which I'll link to below.
So I want to just say one more thing about this, and that is everybody's got a, because of the animal food industry propaganda, everybody is so afraid of not getting enough protein, and I have fallen for this myself. And this leads people, when they get onto the whole food plant-based approach, they are trying to get as much protein as possible by eating a ton of beans, emphasizing beans, legumes, and bean products, and on the assumption that if they don't eat the beans, they're not going to get enough protein or essential amino acids, which is just, it's wrong, it's false. You don't need to eat beans, and people didn't, in traditional diets, did not eat a bean-based diet, because beans have their higher amount of soluble fibers and higher amount of indigestible starches, so you cannot eat them in the same quantity with digestive comfort. So then people say, I tried a vegan diet and I got digestive disorders. Well, I'll tell you, I did the same thing and made the same excuse at times, and I'm not going to go over that right now. I don't have time in this video, but amazingly, I found when I stopped emphasizing beans and only eat beans occasionally or in small amounts, I don't have those digestive problems anymore. Grains are easily digestible, and that's why grains, whole grains, have been the staple food for humanity for thousands of years. Thousands of years, whole grains. And even currently, in the world today, go outside of modern industrialized developed nations, still humanity obtains around 70% of its calories, humanity as a whole, from grains. We are a species that specializes in eating grains. This is our dietary specialization, eating cooked whole grains. This is what makes us different from other species. Our ability to use these grains as our staple food depends on our brain. And think about that. What is happening now is that people are telling us we should not eat as humans are designed to eat. We should eat like a lion, or some people are saying we should eat like a chimpanzee. Those are the fruitarians. Both of these people are wrong. Humans are not designed to be raw food fruitarians, and we're not designed to be carnivores either, and these are not the only two options. There's a well-tested, traditional, whole grain based, we call it macrobiotic diet, that's time-tested for thousands of years. But for some reason, the powers that be, or whatever,
have confused everybody.
The commerce system doesn't want you to do that.
Well, because I'm on low battery, the other thing I wanted to say about what this is happening, the more we change the demand of these products, the harder it is to find, the more we end up with this hodgepodge of stuff that's like imported, and then, you know, like quinoa, everybody loves quinoa, it's higher in protein, you know, it's a superfood, but it creates an imbalance because we in the temperate climate zones are importing foods grown in other climate zones, and it's creating a massive ecological imbalance where the people of the area can't even afford to eat because the demand is so high and the cost is so high. They can't even eat their own native crops because we're busy trying to eat them, thinking that
we need to have coconut in order to get some
coconut, quinoa, all these imported foods.
Yeah.
And instead of just being okay with the native crops that we have, we just like spit on it and opt for all these special foods instead. So hold on. So got low battery. Just wanted to get those points across while we were out here walking. I do have an article on eating in an orderly manner and just outlining the way traditional people have always had a concept of principal food and secondary food. So even those in the whole food plant-based movement who are all eating healthy foods still don't have a sense of orderliness to it. It's a hodgepodge. As long as it's, you know, whole, unprocessed, that's good. But you can actually do even better, and that is by following what Don said and having a whole grain, vegetable centered diet. Whole grain being the principal food for a reason. And even if it takes time to transition into this, we have found such amazing benefits from eating a more whole grain, vegetable centered diet without being concerned about getting all kinds of beans and protein rich plant foods anymore. Our energy has skyrocketed. We're losing the excess body fat we were carrying around in all kinds of places of our body we didn't even expect, and feeling a whole lot better. Arms are getting tired holding it up. We're switching off.
Yeah, we didn't bring a
This is just spontaneous, so that's all.
We gotta sign off.
Anything else for you, or you're done?
I'm done.
All right, well, thank you for listening, and I hope this little discussion was beneficial. If you have questions or comments, leave it down below, and look in the description box for links to some articles in my free macrobiotic ebooks. I have one available that I published over 10 years ago now, and I'm going to continue to make all the ones that I wrote over a decade ago when I had a little bit more common sense about me because we were eating macrobiotic before the low carb craze took over. So I'm going to make them available for free as ebooks, so I'll leave links for that below. You can get at least one of them right now. And until next time, have a great day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.